this session and at least to present hub number 1 after the first part of this session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I saw one raised hand. Alvarez and Kenny, but then the hand was slowed down. So if you want to make
it was accident. It was accident.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, great. I mean, great. We love questions anyways. So then the next speaker, thank you, Christina, so much for jumping in and taking care of this presentation. Are there any questions? If not, then I would give the word to Benoit. And Benoit is a policy officer at Staff Task Force of European Commission, Director General for Budget. Benoit, are you with us?
I'm with you, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Good afternoon to everyone, and thanks for having me. Christina asked me to give a short presentation on STEP. So I will try to share my screen because it's easier if we have also the PowerPoint. Voila, I think you can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So my name is Benoit Eijsman, and I'm indeed part of DG Budget, the European Commission. I am a member of the task force on strategic technologies for Euro platform, which we call STEP as an acronym. And just to give you a little bit the overall context first. Well, I need to click on the arrows to make it moving. So I won't go into the presentation in details because we have only 15 minutes to discuss this, and I want to make also a point on the link between STEP and critical raw materials. But just starting with a little bit the reminder, and I can circulate the full presentation with you afterwards in case you want to look at it in details. But basically, STEP is not a new fund. It is an initiative that was launched by the Commission end of 2023. And basically, the starting idea was to make a better use of the EU budget, to make it more accessible and to make it to channel, let's say, the money faster towards the industry, to put it into simple words. And so what we are doing, we are, let's say, an initiative, and I kind of usually refer to that word because we are not a new program, we are not a new instrument, we are not, unfortunately, bringing very much additional fresh money to industry, but we are more a kind of an internal initiative at Commission level to try to make a better use of the EU budget and of 11 of the different tools or funding programs that we are covering with the regulation that regulates actually STEP. So the main point is really to make a better articulation between the different types of funding that are existing, either because they are managed directly at Commission level, but also in cooperation with the different member states, because I guess that you're also familiar that member states receive an envelope of the EU budget to implement the different policies, especially under the cohesion policy, but same also under the common agricultural policy. So they are the ones launching the call for proposals, etc., with the money of the EU budget. But let's say they are the one in the driving seat and not the Commission. As a second part, let's say also of our double mandate was also, since we are in DG Budget and since we are coming towards the end of this multi-annual financial framework, to have the reflection also on how to change a little bit the rules, how to build a better framework for the next budget of the European Union. So this is also part of the discussion that we are bringing and ideas that we're bringing into the next MFF discussion and upcoming negotiations. So basically with STEP, the focus is really to support, if we put it again into very simple words, the Made in Europe. So the aim is really to take the money from those programs and to help industry accessing European funds to support the development and manufacturing of critical technologies and strengthening of the value chain in the EU in 3 critical sectors: digital deep tech, clean tech, and biotech. And so you see already also here, basically, how do we assess whether a call for proposals is under the umbrella of STEP or not? They need to meet at least one condition out of the two, either to bring in an innovative cutting-edge element with a significant economic potential to the single market, or to contribute reducing or preventing strategic dependencies. And of course, there you see already the link with the Critical Raw Material Acts and also with NZIA. So let's say our connection with the colleagues in DG GROW on the Critical Raw Material Acts and in NZIA is already there from, let's say, the theoretical perspective. So we have four kind of instruments. So as I said already, it's pooling the resources from different EU programs. We have more or less 60-ish European programs and different funds. So obviously, when you put yourself in the shoes of SMEs, of industry, I mean, you cannot be familiar with all the different programs. It would take ages. And even people in the Commission, I mean, you know about several programs, but I don't know any single person who can know about the details of every single program that is using partly the budget of the European Union. So we want to make this also easier that people access the information about those different 11 programs by promoting the call for proposal, which are contributing to the STEP objectives on a dedicated portal, the STEP portal. And we also have, thanks to our regulation, a kind of a new tool or support that we can provide, which is the STEP seal, which is really coming and heavily inspired from the Seal of Excellence. But I will explain you a little bit later how this STEP seal really works to access European funding. And so this one-stop shop aspect that you see here as well is also what we are building together with the member states, where we have now one single contact point, which has been appointed in each and every single member state to help us making the coordination between European funding, national and regional funding as well. So to have the overall picture on how the different funds can work with each other to better support industry. So this is the STEP portal, where we try to explain what we are doing and, most importantly, what are the funding opportunities that are available for industry of those three critical sectors. And you can see here that is the first attempt also to make in one single place all the call for proposals, whether they are coming from regional level, national level, or European level. I guess that most of you are very familiar with the Funding and Tenders portal, which is a very good tool. But the Funding and Tenders portal usually promotes only the call for proposals which are coming from direct management, so from the Commission or from the executive agencies. And if you want to have also information about the programs that are supporting industry in your own region, then you need to connect to the regional portal or to the national portal sometimes. What we want to do is to bring everything under in one simple place, so that when you look for funding as a company or as a research organization, you can have quickly and easily an access at least to have a list of the funds that are and the call for proposal which are available, and to have then a short summary of what the call is targeting in one place, without reading 120 pages of a call document to understand whether you are eligible to apply or not. So what we want to do is to give this first level of information, and then of course up to the people to assess and decide whether they want to apply for a certain fund or another by going more into details. But at least you have a full overview on the basis of our portal. So, as I told you in the very beginning, we are trying to pool the resources from 11 EU programs. And what does that mean in practice? It means that we are trying to convince our own colleagues in the lead DGs, so colleague in DG RTD for those who are dealing with Horizon Europe, colleagues in DG Klima for the Innovation Fund, colleagues in DG Connect for Digital Euro program, in DG Sante for EU4Health, and in DG DEFIS for European Defence Fund. So internally within the Commission, we are explaining and we are trying to convince people to allocate more resources from those 5 programs that are managed by the Commission to industry to better support the Made in Europe in those sectors with those programs. And so far, we have already managed to encourage colleagues from the all 5 DGs there to reallocate it, a substantial part of their budget, to industry through call for proposals. Similarly, we are doing the same also with the national and regional authorities in the member states. And I think that as of now, we have 20 out of the 27 member states which have decided also to reuse part of their EU allocation to support industry in those 3 critical sectors, namely through the cohesion policy, so with the European Regional Development Fund, with the European Social Fund, the Just Transition Fund, the Cohesion Fund. There, we also have the Recovery and Resilience Facility and InvestEU, which are still, let's say, 2 very specific instruments with whom we still have to work a little bit more to see how we can really trigger that, because under the RRF, for instance, you have still a lot of unused money which could be allocated to better support industry in those 3 critical sectors. You see in the very center of the screen here also the award of the STEP seal. So it gives me the opportunity to explain you how the STEP seal work. So basically, the idea of the STEP seal is to make a better use of the projects that are already existing and which are looking for funding. So I guess many of you, you are familiar with Horizon Europe. Horizon Europe is a highly competitive program, and it leads to a huge frustration because there are many very good projects which have been on which people have invested time and resources to build a strong proposal. The proposal then is submitted through the call for proposal. It is thoroughly assessed by external experts. It is highly ranked at the end of the process, and yet the project does not get the funding because the financial envelope was too low. And so usually it ends up there, and so you are not lucky. Despite the fact that you have a very good project, you are not getting the money. We want to change this, saying, okay, if there is already a good project which is assessed by the experts as a good project, let's try then to find the sources of funding from a different program. So instead, even if you apply under Horizon Europe, we would try to then find an alternative source of funding so that the project can still be funded maybe by another instrument, which is also targeting more or less the same goal than Horizon Europe under that call for proposal. So either at Commission level or with the support of the member states. And the idea is really to try to help the project moving as one project and not to say start again, fill in the application form from scratch with another fund. So basically how the STEP seal is awarded to a project. We do not award a STEP seal to a project because the project is applying for the STEP seal. The STEP seal is automatically granted to any of the projects which are applying under these 5 different programs that you see on the left-hand side. So if you submit a project under a Digital Europe program, the European Defence Fund, EU for Health, Horizon Europe, and Innovation Fund, if your project is complying with the minimum quality requirements of these calls, if your project is contributing to the STEP objectives, you will get the STEP seal, whether you get the funding or not. Why is the STEP seal only given through these 5 programs? It is simply because under these 5 programs, the rules are really the same. There is a call for proposal which is launched, you submit an application, and the process of assessment and evaluation under these 5 programs is exactly the same. So we can guarantee that it's the same treatment for all the projects which are applying under these instruments, which is something that we cannot do when it's a call which is launched, for instance, by a member state. Let's take Germany, for instance, which have then their own process to make the evaluation, the selection of the project, and grant or not grant the funding with the EU budget in the end. So it is only limited to these 5 programs, but at least we can ensure consistency in the award of the STEP seal. So once the STEP seal is granted to the project, we can maybe split it into two different categories. And honestly, if you apply under Horizon Europe, if you get the funding under Horizon Europe, you get also the STEP seal. But let's be honest, there is no real added value for you to get the STEP seal because it will not generate anything else. You got the funding, you got the funding. What is more important is for the projects who are not getting the funding, as I explained before, you are too low, let's say, on the short list. So there we want to try to build these connections, as I said, with the other funds and try to find a solution to fund still the project under another instrument. So this is one way we do it, and the other way we want to do it as well is we want to also bring in private investors to support the very good projects by giving them also the possibility to come in and offer private financing for the project if the project is interested, of course. So we are building at the moment this community of private investors with whom we are trying to liaise with the projects that have been granted the STEP seal. I saw your hand raised, Simona.
Yeah, you have 1 minute.
Okay, so I can wrap up
Sorry.
there. Just to tell you that here we have already 142 projects which have been granted the STEP seal. So many of them got the funding, so it doesn't make any difference for them. But we are working closely with the ones which have not received the funding to find an alternative source of funding and still go through. You can see some STEP stories also to see what are the concrete projects that have been supported under STEP and under the different programs covered by STEP on our portal. And on this, I think I do not need to spend time on this. You can see it a little bit later. Maybe just to finish as well, because Christina asked me also how this STEP seal can really support the projects which are related to the Critical Raw Material Act. There is a specific provision saying that the member states should consider financing the projects which have the STEP seal if they are also related to the Critical Raw Material Act. So that's also some kind of leverage that we have with the national authorities, with the regional authorities, to tell them, hey, look, you have a European project there, or you have companies which have applied for European funding, which have been assessed. The project seems very good to us. So you should be considering using the money to support the project at national or regional level, because it fits also with the objective of the Critical Raw Material Act. Then if they don't do it, they still have the possibility not to do it. The member states have to justify why they are not financing this project. So it's not, let's say, mandatory for the member states to support those projects, but at least they have the obligation to at least look at the project and to try to either finance it or to justify why they are not doing it. So far we do not have too many projects related to Critical Raw Material Acts, but I can tell you already that in Italy, in Lombardia specifically, they will soon launch a call for proposal with a budget of 10 million euros specifically dedicated for Critical Raw Material Acts project. So this is a first kind of very practical results that we are achieving with STEP, which has just turned 1 year earlier in March, and we are still really in the full process of now implementing and trying to get more money for the industry of those three sectors to benefit from European funding. And with that, I stop here, and if there is any question, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you, Benoit, and I'm sorry I have to cut you off.
No worries. It's always a challenge to have to explain so many things into such a short period of time.
I will open the floor for a few minutes. Tullio, I see your hand raised. So please.
Yes. Thank you very much for the very interesting presentation. I have a question on the STEP seal. So when the STEP seal is given, then you should try to get funding from other sources, like regional funding you were mentioning. Now, how it happens that a project that has been conceived at European level and as partner for many countries can then get funding from local region?
Yeah, That's the most difficult case, because indeed the easy cases for us are the ones where it's a single applicant and then we can kind of negotiate with the member states. When you have a project with 20 members in the consortium coming from 20 different member states, it makes it more difficult, let's be honest. So we are trying on a case-by-case basis to make the difference where we can. So that's why there is no guarantee that in the end the project will still get the funding, but at least we are trying to help those that we can help by raising, by putting with the national contact points also around the table to say, listen, it's kind of a double project with 2 countries, maybe 5, 4, 6 partners, but from 2 different countries. Could you not sit around the table and consider trying to find from your respective financial allocation a way to make it work? And hopefully we will be able to show some results in the coming weeks or months. But this is the kind of things that we do, and it's a very lengthy process because indeed it imposes for member states or for regional managing authorities to sit together around the same table. But it's a lot of efforts, but if at least in some cases we manage to do that, I think it would be already a good step forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, maybe? If not, what